Whoa, mighty thought piranhas and rivers of all kinds. It has been a while. The last episode was published in March of 2024. I guess I wanted to see if y'all would miss me. Did you? Ready or not, River of Suck podcast is back. We're jumping in with a conversation recorded live at Fiddle Hill Online with Mimi Rabson, a prolific educator and string player, as well as a mentor of mine. While this was recorded last year, it is important that we get all of her timeless wisdom out to the world. So here it is! Welcome, friends, to the live River of Suck podcast at Fiddle Hill Online. This is episode, I believe, 37, if I'm not mistaken, of the River of Suck podcast. And today we have a super ridiculously special guest today, Mimi Rabson, who is one of my mentors at Berklee College of Music in Boston, one of my most encouraging heroes of music and life. And I can't thank you enough for spending some time here today.
Oh, Andy, I'm so honored to be here. Really, it's such a thrill. You're an amazing person and musician, and I'm honored to be part of this.
Yay. We're going to start with your superhero origin story, because how did you go from a little baby a long time ago to one of the most foremost music educators on the Boston scene? You sort of see superstars out on their way through Berklee College of Music and tell them what they need to hear, not what they want to hear. How did you get here?
Gotta unpack that a little bit. Yeah, tell them what they need to hear instead of what they want to hear. That's a good one. Let's see. I was born into a family of amateur and sometimes semi-professional musicians. My parents met playing early music, and by that I mean Renaissance and Baroque music. I have to qualify that now, but in those days we used to just call it early music. Everybody knew what that meant because it was only about classical music, you know.
Right.
Anyway, they met doing that and did that my whole life. They had chamber music parties regularly in which they played all that stuff. My dad built a harpsichord at one point, and my mom played recorders with this beautiful case full of recorders of all shapes and sizes. And when I was little, we lived in Brazil for a few years, and she played some concerts in São Paulo with the symphony on the recorder. It's crazy to think about that now. It seems so normal as a kid. Yeah, totally. My mom's doing that. So they were having these chamber music parties and sending me off to bed, and that I was not at all interested in that. I really wanted to be part of it. So they finally explained to me how to play and how to read, and yeah, I was all over that. That just seemed like so much fun. And then in third grade, I think like maybe many people who are fortunate enough to have a good music education system in their schools, in their public schools, in third grade, we were suddenly informed that we were old enough now to be responsible enough to play a string instrument. And this came as a complete surprise to me. Anyway, they herded us into the cafeteria and said, well, look, you can play all day. There was all the instruments standing up there on the stage with, people playing them. And here's the violin. Sounds like this. And some eighth grader probably came and played something. I don't know. It was pretty dazzling. I thought it was pretty dazzling. But, whatever. It's kind of squeaky. And then the viola player, who I think was not nearly as good of a player as the violin player, got up on stage and did this. And yeah, Simpsons moment. Oh, clouds parting, the sun shining. Really, and even like now, if I'm having a bad day, that just does it for me. That sound is still moves me completely. So, okay, I want that. That's what I want to do, is make that sound. But my school library didn't have any violas, so the teacher said, start on the violin. You can already read because you play the recorder. Yeah, you can always switch to viola later. Well, the violin parts are much better than viola parts. So I kind of got hooked on the violin parts because they're better and more fun. And I went through that's fine. And And then, as you know, in your public school music program, at least in those days, you're kind of tracked right into the classical thing. And there's this pedagogy, immutable pedagogy that's been around for a long time, that everyone goes through. No question. You can't ask any questions. You can't have any input. You just have to do what everybody tells you to do. And in the meantime, and so I started on that path. In the meantime, I had a half sister who was a blues singer in Chicago, and she used to come. She was much older than I was, and she'd come visit me for every so often. And she bought me my first Kind of Blue album. She bought me some Papa John Creech. Every time she came to visit me, she would bring me another record. Papa John Creech, Don Sugarcane Harris. That's the one that you know who that is, then that's awesome. For those of you who don't know who Don Sugarcane Harris was, he was this insane electric violinist who really blew the lid off of playing rock violin, I guess, maybe is the way to talk about it. Papa John Creech is great, but he had, a beautiful sweet sound, vibrato, all that stuff. Sugarcane Harris had none of that, just ripping it out, completely ripping it to shreds. He played with Frank Zappa for a while, put out a few of his own records. So my sister Ann was bringing me those records, and then I would go off to school and play, the classical track stuff. And I thought, wow, what's this? What is happening here? This is so different from what I listened to for fun. And then I thought, okay, well, maybe I need to get past some technical levels before I can play the music that I am interested in for fun. So, I learned how to shift. Okay, that seems like a pretty useful skill, actually. I think I could probably use that. I think Don Sugarcane Harris probably uses that. I know Papa John Creech is using that because he does that thing at the end of every tune.
Yeah.
And you got to know how to shift to do that. So, okay, I learned how to shift. Okay, fine. Now are we going to get, I passed that hurdle. Now can we get into that? No, now we got to learn how to do vibrato. Oh, that seems useful. Okay, I probably could use that. Papa John Creech used a lot of vibrato. All my heroes are using vibrato. Miles Davis, not so much, but, the violin players were doing that. Okay, got to learn. And I learned vibrato, and then, okay, now we're going to get into the stuff like, when are they going to say, bring in the music that, you want to work on? Of course, that never happened. And I really got through most of my way through college before I realized that was how naive I was, that if I wanted to play some of that other stuff, I wasn't going to get any formal instruction in how to do that. And I was just going to have to do it by myself, which is fine. There was self-resilient moment for me. But that's one of the reasons I'm so happy to be at Berklee, because now when people bring in stuff I've never heard of, that's great. Let's learn that. That's the stuff I want to learn. And I'm so happy to be in a place where I can do that for other people, what I wish that I had been, had happened for me.
You did do that for me, in fact, for sure.
That makes me very happy. I'm very happy. I have a funny Andy story I will tell all our listeners, but I'm going to save it for the end of the event. At any rate, when I was in college, I went to NEC because they had what they called it. They had a jazz department, and they had what they called at the time third stream, which was the name that Gunther Schuller gave to everything in the world that wasn't classical and wasn't jazz. Everything else in the world was third stream. Everything. I mean, that's really something, isn't it? Now
that's a big umbrella. It's
a big umbrella. That changed later to contemporary improvisation, and now it's called CMA, Contemporary Musical Arts, and also the Country Music Awards. They share that acronym, CMA. So I think they're still struggling to find a name for all of the music in the world that is not embodied in their classical department and in their jazz department. That's very funny. Much the same way that ASTA calls all that stuff eclectic. If it isn't, although it's just classical. If it's not classical, it's eclectic. That includes jazz and everything else.
Well,
the nomenclature is, it begs some attention. Anyway, I went into the classical department because I had no experience in those other kinds of music that I wanted to play, and it was college level now. I didn't think I would get into it. But I spent all of my time, all my friends were in the jazz department, and I spent most of my time in the third stream department. And one of my professors there, Hank Osnetsky, is the one who started the Klezmer Conservatory Band. And he stopped me in the hall one day with a tape deck, one of those old, I forget, the Marantz tape decks, that's before your time, that you could change the pitch on the tape deck, which was just mind-blowing that you could do that with tape, so you could go down, anyway, whatever, technology is so much better now. Anyway, he stopped me in the hall with a tape deck and he said, "Hey, I'm going to start a band that does this." And he pushed play on this tape deck in the hall. And what I heard was violins playing with a drummer. And that was a definite win for me. Yes, yes, yes. And that was the beginning of the Klezmer Conservatory Band, which I played with for many, many years. Finally got out of the classical box in a way in which I could get some instruction and play with other people and all that stuff, and play with a drummer, which had been a dream of mine ever since my first Sugarcane Harris record, and that being in that band and playing with those people gave me some opportunities to do a whole, all of those, not all of them, I'll never get to all of them, but many of the other things that I had wanted to do in my musical life. So I did all of those for a long, long time. And then I got pregnant with my first child. And right about that time, Matt Glazer called me up and said, "Hey, do you want to teach at Berklee?" And I said, "Hell yeah, that sounds about right. I'd love to get off the road." And, and one of my first students, my first semester at Berklee, was Casey Dreesen, who walked into his lesson with this John Silikowski 5-string violin, not this exact one, but one made by the same guy. Yeah. And again, I had that Simpsons moment. Oh my God, now I can play all those fun violin lines. Like I still go home and play that beautiful C string. So I called up John and he made one for me, and that's this. And I never looked back. I think that's my story.
Wow. Yeah. So it's funny to think of Casey as a little student, because I kind of consider him to be a master of the fiddle.
Of course. I mean, he's a god, really. Yeah, his chopping god for sure. Really. Yeah.
Cool. Well, yes, so many amazing things. I have to backtrack on one tiny detail that seems unimportant, but you said that you're given your first kind of blue record. Are you implying that you overplayed it and got more replacements as time went on?
Well, I still have the vinyl copy, but I did buy a couple of CDs and gave some away. And now, of course, I have it on iTunes and, I mean, yeah. And I make many of my students transcribe some of that stuff. This follows with the cat thing that you guys just did. That was so great. And you're talking about leaving lots of space. Mm-hmm. I feel like string players have a terrible time with that, because in classical music, you never leave any space. You're always playing the melody constantly. You never shut up. Fiddle music, it's all about all the notes all the time, and it's so great to leave some space. You said all of that so beautifully in that session. If your listeners haven't watched that one, go back and check it out. It was really great.
Well, just to give everyone a little context, we were doing a class, Dr. Joy Adams and I, about things cats do basically to improve our music. And so we were talking about cats going to sleep, cats playing rests, cats sitting in the window, cats on the chair, and both our cats, Capo and Viola, were literally doing that very thing at that very moment. We were encouraging people to play some big rests. So there's the context. But of course, you can check it out in the Fiddle Hill Online replays. But yeah, we're digressing, which means it is time to talk about what is the River of Suck. Dun dun dun.
Yeah, logo. Where's your logo for that?
I need to get a little sound effect for this moment. I think maybe I'll make one. Yeah. Okay. Imagine you just heard a sound effect, everyone. So the River of Suck is an imaginary river running through your mind and through your life. You're here on one side on your comfort shore. Behind you is your comfort cave. And you're looking across to the other side where you can see little tiny versions of yourself. They're future you who can do all the things that you wish you could do now. The problem is, in between You now and future you is there's a raging river of suck in between with whitewater rapids, thought piranhas, and this is a new one from Melody Walker, cringe rocks. And yeah,
Mm.
the cringe rocks are definitely in the middle of the river too. The point is, you have to suck at something before you can be good at it. And a lot of people just sort of dip a toe and go, ouch, the water's cold. But especially when it comes to the fiddle and the violin, playing string instruments and trying to get better, we do have to make those squeaky sounds. We do have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And then with little tiny steps, we might slowly get to the other side. Maybe there's ways we could build a raft. But anyway, that's the River of Suck. How do you see that, Mimi, in your music and your life?
Well, I believe you when you frame it like that. That's one way to think about that for sure. And that certainly rings true. I would like to reframe it a little bit into a slightly different vision.
Please.
Uh, let's see, I haven't thought this through right away. I'm going to throw out a few things.
Yeah.
What makes you want to cross that river of suck? It's your curiosity, or maybe there's something shiny on the other side. You don't have to. You can live very happily in your cave, but something is drawing you there. And I would like to suggest that instead of thinking of it as a river of suck, you think that it's the journey. It's not the destination, it's that journey. So maybe
Mm-hmm.
instead of that lovely image you've painted, we can think about something else. Maybe there's a beautiful field in front of you and you see some shiny object off in the distance and you might, trip on a rock, or you might forget your sunscreen, or you might need, yes, treasure hunt. Love that.
Boom.
And on the way to looking at that shiny object, you see some flowers, and maybe you see a beautiful bird that you didn't know about before, or you get wrapped up in thinking about the flower that you just discovered for the first time. It's really, I think the journey is so much more important than the destination. By the time you get to that shiny object, you're going to be a completely different person. You might see that shiny object in a completely different way
Mm-hmm.
because of the things that you have encountered on your journey across the meadow. So I, so I would like to reframe the journey in that way. I think if it really were a river of suck, I would definitely stay in the cave. But why would I subject myself to that? That's awful. But if I think of it as a treasure hunt and I'm finding some beautiful, things along the way that I didn't expect I was going to encounter, and have some experiences that some will, yes, some will suck, but others will be interesting. And my curiosity is driving me. I mean, I think that's the issue, is what's taking you there. It's
Yeah.
not, I hope it's not a masochistic sense of bad self-worth, that instead, it's this curiosity about what's in front of you.
It's the world's most positive reframing that we've ever heard in 37 episodes of this. And I love that so much because, I mean, that's really one of the points, is to stay positive when everything seems hard and impossible. I think part of the analogy of the river of suck is just to laugh a little bit and to acknowledge how hard it is sometimes to feel these negative emotions about ourselves, which seems silly when you take a step back, but in the moment when you really want to be able to do something and you've put in hours and it's still really hard. It's funny though, because I heard that river of suck analogy from John McGann, who was also one of my mentors around a very similar time as I was studying with you at Berklee College of Music. And I think, and I've spoken to other students of his from around the same time, and a lot of them did not hear this analogy from John. So
Hmm.
I feel like this was John telling me what I needed to hear in the moment. It's hard.
Ah,
I'm trying to get back inside the brain of, whatever 19, 20-year-old me, but maybe I was getting down on myself. I feel like I try to be a person with a good vibe, but Really, sometimes it's
You
hard
are.
to control your emotions. And so I've learned that it's important to feel them, but maybe that's what I needed to hear in that moment. And so he told that to me. So, you know, that's
Yeah.
where I got it. And so I've just spent these years now fleshing it out more, because
Mm.
the deeper I go, the more the river of suck gives. But hold on, a field of awesome. Now that is like, it's an incredible vision for like a new world of staying positive when you're on the path. And my favorite snowboarder, Jeremy Jones, says the journey is the reward. He's got several pieces of merch you can buy with that phrase on it. And I love it so much. It's really, yes, by the time you get there, there's a whole new frontier to go. So the whole thing was an illusion to begin with. Remember, it's an imaginary river. So yeah, so you have such a positive spin on it. I just have to ask, like, what about the negative emotions?
Yeah, I don't mean to Pollyanna this thing. I'm sure John would be very proud of you, and he was telling you maybe what you needed to hear, not what you wanted to hear. To go back to what you'd said earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the negative stuff is awful, true, but I think it's really important you know, not to dwell in the river of suck when you could be in the field of awesome.
Right.
I think you have to keep thinking about why are you taking this journey? Why are you taking this journey? And if your motives are pure and you're really just curious about it and want to have the experience of doing this better tomorrow than you're doing it today, that's enough motivation. And whatever those negative, if it takes you a week instead of a day to get to that, who cares? What difference does that make? It doesn't make any difference at all. So the negative stuff, I think, I don't want to blame the rest of the world for it, but I think a lot of that negative stuff is coming from the outside. If you can keep your curiosity alive, then the negative stuff, I think it's frequently, the echo chamber of stuff that has come from the outside. You've got
Right.
to just keep in your own, keep in your own little world about your motivation. I want to relate another story that I heard at the Mass Music Educators Association conference a few years back, and I'm very embarrassed that I don't remember the name of the person who made this presentation. I think he was from Syracuse. He was a high school music teacher in Syracuse. His idea was a lot of people hate practicing. Practicing sucks, but practicing a musical instrument sucks. But let's talk about video games.
Yeah.
When you fail in that first level 500 times until you find the cheat code and you can pass the first level, you love that. I mean, it might be frustrating, but you can't wait to get back at it and try it again and try it again. Oh, if I'd only done it this way, if I'd only done it that way, oh, there's the cheat code I could use. I'm going to try it again and again and again. It's a stupid video game. What do you get at the end of that? I conquered this video game. But if you had that same thing with your practicing, I can't get that F sharp tune. Maybe if I try this, maybe a cheat code, I could get my tuner out. I could play F sharp in a different octave. I could change my strings. Maybe my strings are out of tune. I could, all of those, if you kind of approach, like, what is it about a video game that triggers the dopamine in a way that practicing does not? I guess is really the issue. Is it the lights, the colors, the fact that it's on a screen, maybe? I don't know. But you've got to figure out a way to get those dopamine ports open when you're making those exact same kinds of decisions and exactly the same kind of process. You're going through the exact same process, except at the end when you've done it on your instrument, now you can play a tune or whatever, and you'll play that tune your whole life.
Yeah. Well, there's something to be said about the effects of screens paired with visuals and sounds and their intended effects on our brain is for sure that. So how do we recreate that? I mean, I've got snacks here like that I got at Trader Joe's. I don't know if we should be like rewarding ourselves with snacks the way that we're rewarding our cats for meowing at us, but I have found the loop pedal to be a little bit more of a useful tool for feeling like when I get somewhere, the feeling of it seems bigger because there's more sound. It's just like more
Bigger is
feedback.
better.
Like you
Yeah.
really hear that it worked because it's not playing with other people, but it's closer to the to it's a closer feeling to playing with other people than just playing your instrument solo. Um, so maybe that's a possible way. But you just Mimi, you sound so positive. Like, have you struggled? Like,
Yeah, of
how do
course,
you?
of course. Uh, yeah. So here's my struggles with. I find I struggle a lot in that river of suck with practicing when I'm playing music that I don't like. And when I'm
Yes.
playing music that I do like, the hours go by and I don't even notice it. And I can't wait to, and then I stop because I'm exhausted or I'm hungry or something, or I have to be somewhere. And I can't wait, and it's in my head, and I can't wait to go back and do it again. It's as simple as that. And, sometimes if I have a gig playing something that wouldn't be my first choice, that's kind of a struggle. But then there are other rewards, like maybe I'm going to get paid something to do that.
Yeah.
But when I'm working on this stuff, if I'm transcribing something or writing something and I'm in it, that's then the journey is complete, is the meadow of, what are you calling it? The field of awesome? Field of
Field of
awesome.
Awesome, the meadow of
Musicality.
improvement. Meadow
Yeah.
of
Meadow of
improvement.
improvement. Yeah. Okay. Well, there's a lot of options there. But yeah, and I think that was a lot of the problem with my training as a classical violin player. Again, I mean, I don't know if I've said this, can't say it enough. There is nothing wrong with classical music. I love it. It's beautiful. It's fulfilling and satisfying and deep and rich and wonderful in every way. And I'm grateful for the time I spent working on that. But I kept thinking, oh, I was having so much FOMO. Like there's so many other things out there, and I'm never going to get to try those. And I would have been happy to work on those with any of my teachers, but if but that just never came up. So that was a big struggle for me, where I just kept having to go into that room when I wanted to be in all these other rooms. Again, makes me happy to be at my current job.
Totally. Let's take a moment to hear from our episode sponsor, Wind Fiddles. Wind Fiddles is the culmination of over 15 years of thought, prototyping, and testing from Al Patterson, an engineer, tinkerer, and violinist. As a woodworker and seasoned product development engineer, Al has turned his garage into a one-man electric fiddle workshop. His Alacaster electric violin is a 4 or 5 string headless design that's built to be tough and portable without sacrificing beauty and workmanship. Alacaster bodies are made from walnut, ash, maple, teak, cherry, oak, and more. They highlight the natural beauty of the wood and with a focus on playability, low action, familiar string spacing, and super lightweight. They also sound warm and rich. So instead of electrifying the acoustic design, Al rethought how the violin interacts with the player. He designed a shoulder rest adapter that allows the use of traditional violin shoulder rests, but also enables the violin to disassemble into the smallest footprint on the market. It also enables a short guitar strap to be used to hold the violin hands-free and chin-free, which one customer says is game-changing for neck pain. Check it out on YouTube. Search Wind Fiddles to see a demo. I noticed my friend Matt Bell has a great demo on YouTube, and the instruments are available both from the Electric Violin Shop and windfiddles.com. Well, let's talk about improvising for a second, because one
Okay.
of the most common thought piranhas that people have is, what do other people think? Like when you're soloing and you have that weird mental voice that sidetracks you. What do other people think about my solo? What do they think about my intonation? What do they think about my rhythm, my ideas? What about me? It's like the downward
Yeah.
spiral. I mean, does that happen to you still?
Yes, of course. But I work very hard to get into what if I tried this, and what is this going to sound like? And I'm curious about that. And, I try to just stay in that frame of mind. And part of what's helped me with that is, let's see, what did you mention? You said intonation. You said there were a couple other things. I
Yeah.
want to,
Yeah.
well, let's start with that one.
Sure.
Okay. First of all, intonation is completely arbitrary. it depends what style of music you're playing. It depends who you're playing with, what instruments you're playing, what part of the world the music is that you're playing from, what century it is that your music you're playing from. It is whether you're playing in a vocal style or whether you're playing with a piano or, there are so many factors that go into intonation. I cannot be bothered with what other people think about my intonation anymore. There are exceptions to that. Like yesterday, I had a long recording session, somebody else's music, and I spent many hours with a tuner before I went to that session because in that situation, I was going to have to play with perfect piano-like intonation. So there are times, I know how to do that, and I can do it. But when I'm playing my own music or I'm improvising, I am going to use that, intonation as one of my tools. And we have this fretless instrument. How cool is that? It's us and trombone players. We're the only ones that can really squeak through in those, can play a real portamento. We're the only ones. Like, use that. So I'm done with that intonation stuff. You got to have a starting point. Yes, you have to know where the center is, but after that, it's really a matter of taste. And you all fiddle players out there, every fiddle style has a different way of handling intonation. Every continent uses its own style. Every region, it's completely arbitrary. Stylistically appropriate, I guess, is maybe a better way of saying that. So I say use all of that stuff for your own purposes. What was the other one that you said? What are other people?
Ideas, ideas.
Oh, yeah. Well, okay, so this is where the curiosity really comes in. So the ideas, I have been in my life a voracious transcriber because I want to know what those ideas are. I started with Kind of Blue and my sister bought it for me. Like, what the hell? And I wanted to come back to that anyway. Those Miles Davis solos on Kind of Blue, so much space. Like, there's more space than notes, I think. I'm exaggerating, but compared to what I'm used to, like at the time, I'm playing violin in the orchestra, I'm playing constantly, and when I have rest, I'm bored to hell. I like, what the hell? Why'd you get me here to play rest? That's ridiculous. Write something for me, Ludwig. What the hell?
Yeah.
But, to hear Miles play these solos with these long, long rests, and they're so compelling. And like you were saying in the previous thing, those rests are fraught with intensity. Like, probably the most interesting thing you can do is leave space,
Yeah.
So that was not Zoom. That was me. Anyway, so other people's ideas. So I've been a voracious transcriber, and again, depending on what style of music you're playing, you can really find anything. You can find stuff that you already can do, stuff that you'll be able to do next week, stuff you'll be able to do next year, stuff you'll work on your whole life, and steal other people's ideas, and then develop them with your own voice.
Yeah. Well, that's a lot of like preparation and thought and modes of thinking, but what do you do in the moment when the negative thoughts creep into your mind?
Well, I try to circle back to something that drew me into this performance that I'm giving right now, whether it's just a note or a couple of melodic ideas or the other people that I'm playing with. Sometimes if I run out of ideas, I look over and see, what's the drummer doing right now?
Totally.
That's kind of cool. Let's participate in that. Or, just trying to keep my ears open to find the thing that is interesting to me, that spurs my curiosity.
You've got a positive spin for everything. I love it. Well, it's important though to have strategies to like redirect the negative energy. And I think sometimes when people spiral, it's because they don't have a strategy in place in the moment. You're trying to move all your limbs in time, and you're ideally trying to move your body with the rest of the musicians. So you're feeling the music in your body, and then you're having thoughts about your self-worth and your solo and are you good enough? And like, it's just like really a lot happening. And I feel like when you're trailing off in your thoughts, you're actually like losing sight of like what's actually happening live now in the moment with all the people that you're with. But I do know that a lot of people struggle with this, and I know because I have struggled with it, and other people have said that they do too. So it's just if you know any strategies like that are much appreciated from all of us because it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's a hard world, scary world out there, Mimi.
It is a hard, scary world, but here's the thing that
Yes.
I mean, how can you go wrong? This is that's that's the world. You gonna join me with a sea, a beautiful sea? Hope we're in tune. My dopamine's going already, and then from there, you can go from there.
Wow. Okay. So, how do we score the dopamine hits from music to stay
Yes.
positive? Is that something you think about while it's happening?
I don't think I do anymore, but I think it was a time that I did. And by the way, I think everybody's dopamine ports open for different reasons. So I can only give you the ones that work for me. You'll have to find the ones that, work for you. Everybody has to find their own path into the dopamine. Um, I mean, I sound like a broken record now, but I keep coming back to the idea of what got me into this. Why am I curious? Like, what's drawing me to this? I guess for me, it really is about the curiosity, figuring out the puzzle. I think
Mm-hmm.
maybe is one way of saying it. Like all that transcribing I've done, what is it? What is this artist thinking? Like, how are they getting through this tune? What are they doing with their pitch and their space and their phrasing and their note choices and their range and their the way they communicate with other people in the band? What is the pieces of the puzzle that work for this artist? And some of them I like and some of them I don't. The ones I liked, I try to incorporate them and develop those. And so I feel like when I'm playing, all of those hours that I spent thinking about the puzzle, how to put the puzzle together, are running through my head. And my goal is to have as many of those pieces available to me at any given time, so I can just go, let's take one of these and one of those, and now it's time for one of these. Let's go back to that one. So, kind of
Yeah.
creating a jigsaw puzzle on the spot.
Yeah, I feel like the more you add to your collection of sort of musical ideas, it's like a painter's palette. We actually get more colors that we can paint with in
Yeah.
our music. And perhaps some of the people, when they're struggling to come up with the next idea, I mean, you're someone who's spent so much time transcribing other artists and seeing where they're coming from and taking what you like and leaving the rest behind. You've reached the point where music is always infinite and it can never end, and there's always something to look for next on the horizon. So perhaps for those of us struggling, we need to just buckle up and transcribe more of our favorite solos.
That might be part of it. Yeah, I think favorite is the key here. I think a lot of
Mm.
people who struggle, a lot of my students actually who struggle are struggling because they think they are supposed to be doing something. And like I said before, like my struggles have been the hardest when I'm working on something I don't like. And it really takes a lot of courage, I think, to say, I don't like this. Like, it's beautiful and has its place, but it's not my place. I
Hmm.
don't like spicy food. My husband loves spicy food. I don't, I can't, I won't, I don't, I've tried it. I'm not going there. So
Hmm.
sometimes we cook separate meals and he has this nice spicy one and I have my bland one, like the oatmeal I had for breakfast, and I'm happy and he's happy. And my dopamine is going and his dopamine is going, and that's completely fine. And there's a lot of pressure to eat spicy food. So much spicy food in the world, and so much cuisine is based on spices. I really just can't, and I'm not I'm I'm done trying because I know what works for me. So I think it's being able to say I don't like that, and I wish I was spending my time on this. You know, I have this comes up a lot with my students who, like me, were brought up in the classical music world. And again, nothing against classical music, it's just not right for everybody. But they were led to believe that because they weren't, the hadn't achieved a certain success at classical music, that they have somehow failed, and they want to continue doing that in college, and that's
Yeah.
okay, but only if they really like the music. And I find the ones who don't practice are doing it because of that outer voice. And sometimes I'm able to say, why are you doing this? What are you listening to for fun? Why don't we do that? And some of them run with it, and some of them don't. I don't know. I think life is short. Why spend time playing music you don't like?
Yeah. Well, the self-sabotage thing is real. I mean, I saw two friends in the last 24 hours period from Berkeley, and one of them is hustling his face off, and the other is sad and working other jobs and making only their music, but they haven't figured out how to make their music fit into like a band or a situation that makes money. So I do feel like some of the downward spiral feelings might be when your music doesn't, when you feel like it's not being loved and accepted by everyone else the way that you love and you accept it. So
Yeah,
there's the other side of like going with what you love is like, are you hireable? And what negative feelings
well,
come from
are you
that?
hireable? That's a completely different discussion. I mean, we can jump into that one if you want. Are you hireable? That's a completely different situation. Yeah, I don't have any advice about that. Practice your scales, learn how to have a beautiful vibrato, play in tune with your tuner, and
Yeah.
you will always work.
Yeah.
Learn 100 tunes. I don't know how many fiddle tunes you need to know to play a gig.
Well, I'll say that I'm trying to be hireable for music that I like, and that's what's most important for me to practice to. Because then, if I can get hired for the music that I like, then I'm happy. So, and
Yeah,
the other thing is, music is for everybody. It's not just it's for the listeners, and it's for the players, and it's for the professionals, and it's for people who want to work another job, but at the end of the day, pick up a fiddle and go to the jam with their friends. I mean, it really is truly, and actually, this is where skiing is one of the absolute best analogies. A lot of people know I'm the skiing fiddler. I just love to ski. In skiing, right? There's all these different, most ski areas you go to have a rating system for the level of difficulty of the trails. Green circle is easy, blue square gets hard, black diamond is harder, and double black extreme is where some of us thrill seekers get our dopamine hits from. Actually, and I had some great fun on a green today. It's like not everything has to be the most challenging, and it's okay to be where you are and enjoy it. There's people who just skied this little tiny lift and went not very far and not very fast, and they had the time of their lives being outside, and that was like a great day to them. And I think music is the same way, where you like learn a couple fiddle tunes and then you show up at Fiddle Hell, you can play those fiddle tunes with new friends. You're on the green. That's cool. I'm not a professional skier. I just do it because I like it. And I think sometimes we forget that in music when we're struggling to try to be better all the time. Learn more tunes, play better, shift better, all these things, all the goals. But yeah, enjoying the middle of the meadow, maybe.
yeah. That's a beautiful analogy. I love that. It's challenging too, because when you're skiing, you can go on the green one and enjoy gravity and do the whole
Yeah.
thing, but there's kind of a leap from the green to the blue.
Yep.
That's a big leap. That's kind of terrifying. But in music, it's not like that. Like
Right.
you can baby step your way over to the blue, and that makes it easier, I think, and not as terrifying.
Right. If in music, if you crash and burn, you're not physically going to the hospital. That is true. That's
Yeah.
that's where this analogy makes a sharp divergent thing.
Yes. True.
The road splits.
Right. Nobody gets hurt if you play out of tune. Yeah. Including you. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the intonation mob is not coming for you.
Yeah.
Okay, so wow. I want to make sure you said you had some kind of crazy story about
Oh
me.
yeah.
So
Okay. I want to
my
just tell a quick
curiosity
story.
has overcome me and I'm asking
All
for
right.
it now.
Well,
What do you got?
so I want to. I'll tell you the story. This is related to Joe Carson's comment here in the chat, who says I was lucky to have a guitar teacher who was willing and excited to see what I was wanting to learn. Although my experience with violin teacher was different. Yeah, that's actually one of my stories. My son, who is about to graduate from Berkeley as a production major, plays the guitar, and he started out. He had a teacher who, sort of explained to him how to play the first few notes and everything, and then it was time for a new teacher. So he went to see another guy. His name Mike Duke, a great guitar player in the Boston area. And I went with him to his first lesson. He was like 9 or 10 years old. I don't know. So I went, and he sat down, opened his case, and Mike said to him, "Well, Sam, what do you want to play? What have you been listening to?" And my head just kind of popped, like, what? And I started thinking about every time I changed teachers, no one ever said that to me. I would have said, "I want to play some Sugarcane Harris. Can we play this? Can we work on this right now?" Like, yes, this is what I want to do. Nobody ever said that to me. And I keep thinking how different my life would have been if I had been encouraged to do that. I don't know, maybe for better or for worse, but it would have been interesting. Anyway, Sam's choice was a Macklemore tune, which was big then and didn't even have a guitar in it. It just had a little sax line and a drum beat of some kind. And Mike said, "Okay, let's do that." He got it up on YouTube and they learned the sax line. And that's what he did at that lesson, the sax line on the guitar. So my point is, let's see, I'm coming back around to my Andy story.
Oh, sure.
So one of the classes that I teach at Berkeley, an ensemble, it's called the Funkestra. And the idea is to make this leap for string players where you start to play the music you like. I try to say, what do you want to work on? What are you listening to for fun? And that's so great for me because I hear stuff I would never have. That's where I learned about Lewis Cole and Hiatus Coyote and, some amazing, incredible artists. Anyway, for all you Fiddle Hill people, Andy took that ensemble. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so Andy chose the theme. You remember what we picked in Funkestra?
Was it Ghostbusters?
Yes, it was. It was the theme from
Yeah.
Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters! Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Ghostbusters! It was just hilarious, and it was so fun. It was, who are you going to call? Exactly. It was really, really fun, and Andy had such a nice spirit about it, and we even got some vocals in, I think some steps, and had a great time playing that tune. Okay, so I just want to say, what other ensemble in the world would you get to play the theme from Ghostbusters in? Because it's something that you like, and you want to play it for fun. I'm trying to share that idea with people, and that play the music that you like to listen to. So that's my Andy story. Thank you for bringing that. I remember it very distinctly playing that tune with you, and it was really, really fun. Great memory. I'll cherish always.
And because I was transcribing it under Mimi orders to make this arrangement, I now secretly, all the time, secretly quote Ghostbusters, like at especially when I think people won't notice is when I quote
Really?
Ghostbusters the most. It comes up all the time, but that totally comes back to your class. That's awesome.
Cool.
I thought I was going to be in trouble for doing something crazy, but
Oh, no. It was a great, really fun time. And I use that as an example now, partly because it's a movie theme, like when I say bring in a tune that you want to listen to, people are thinking, scrambling to think of stuff, and people don't usually think of movie themes, but
what do I like? Who
yeah.
am I?
Yeah, well,
What is happening?
how about a movie theme? Yeah, cool. We did eventually do the James Bond theme. That was great. Live and Let Die. I think that was after your time, but yeah, that's right. Movie, TV, video game themes. Yeah, video game themes. There's such great stuff out there now. That wasn't so
Yeah.
much the case when you were a student, but now there's lots of beautiful, amazing video game stuff. We're doing a couple of them this semester, as a matter of fact.
Oh, yeah. We have a pretty active chat. And if anyone has a question for Mimi, please type it in the chat.
Cleo, you were an extra in Ghostbusters? Oh my
Yeah.
God, that's amazing.
Cleo is in the Columbus Circle
Wow,
scene.
that's very exciting, Cleo.
Amazing. We're gonna have to,
You'll have
after,
to
right
rewatch
after,
it. Yeah.
yeah, after this interview ends, I'm gonna break out my Sugarcane Harris vinyl, and I'm
And
gonna
watch.
find Ghostbusters, and we'll see if they synchronize. It actually might.
There you go. Very nice.
Yeah. Kara is asking, you have inspired me to think about the music that I really like. I feel like I am all over the place.
Yeah.
Can one play it
Same.
all?
That's the exact right question, and I also am all over the place, and that I love that about music, that that there is so many places to go. That's the best part. Curiosity forever. Yes. Here's the thing. All of this work, for me, the goal of this all, if there is is the journey. I'm not changing that. It's the journey, not the destination.
Mm-hmm.
But the shiny object on the other side of the meadow for me is to have my own unique voice as a musician that is informed by all of that all over the place stuff that I also am interested in. And I work very hard with my students as well. The transcription stuff, I love that. It's really fun. But I don't want to play like Miles Davis. Like, I don't want to be the next Miles Davis. Not that I could be, but, I'm not transcribing Don Sugarcane Harris because I'm just doing it because I like it. But I'm a different person, and I have, all sorts of experiences in music. And my goal there, the shiny object on the other side, is my unique voice that is informed by all of that stuff. So I'm not sure if the shiny object is playing all of those different things. For me, the shiny object is making a unique musical statement informed by all those things.
Wow. I love that. That's inspiring to me as someone who also wants to play a lot of different kinds of music. And, maybe that sacrifices, we don't know everything about everything, but if we know a lot about a lot, we can play music with a lot of people.
Let me make this analogy really quick.
Yeah.
Let's think about the world of the arts for a moment. And I want to make a difference between the performing arts and the rest of the world. So imagine that you're a writer or a painter, or, you work with fabric or something that is not time sensitive. Imagine, let's say that you're a writer. Okay, so now let's imagine you write a book, and now you're going to write the exact same book over and over again. The same story, the same words, the same punctuation, the same page turns, the same cover, over and over and over and over again for the rest of your life. That's absurd. Now, let's imagine that you're a classical violin player, and you're really good at playing the Beethoven Violin Concerto, and it's magnificent. And now you have a career. You're going to play the Beethoven Violin Concerto over and over and over and over and over again for the rest of your life. That, I think, is also absurd. I mean, I'm grateful to the people who do it because I'm very happy to hear it over and over again. It's magnificent, certainly. That doesn't open my dopamine ports. I'm much more interested in the next book that I'm going to write, or the way that I'm going to bring all of those other ideas into the next artistic expression.
Wow. Well, and you continue to do that and to spread the good word to all the students at Berklee College of Music and here at Fiddle Hill. So, yeah, thank you for sharing all that. I just can't believe that our time is up. It kind of seems like it went by fast. Where can we find you to follow you more? I know there's mimirabson.com. Is there any other cool projects coming up or things places we should be looking?
I'm not on social media. That's probably the best place to find me. And if any of you are in the Boston area, I write music for a big band called the Jazz Composers Alliance Orchestra. And we've got a concert coming up in May that's in Dorchester. That's going to be spectacular, May 18th.
Heck yeah. I'll try to get this episode released before May 18th.
Oh,
Everyone
fantastic.
can go. I think it's quite likely. It's gonna happen. It's gonna be awesome. Spoiler alert, this episode was not released in May 2024. Here we are, all the way in August 2025, and Mimi has some great concerts coming up in the fall with the Jazz Composers Alliance, both at Berklee College of Music in Boston. October 7th, 2025, at the David Friend Recital Hall, 7:30 p.m., and November 3rd at the Berklee Performance Center, 8 p.m. That's Mimi Rabson with the Jazz Composers Alliance. Well, we've reached the end. Nobody ever said crossing the river of suck or the field of awesome would be easy or that you had to do it alone. So I want to thank you for tuning in and giving it a chance. You can join the River of Suck swim team and support this podcast for even just $1 a month at riverofsuckswimteam.com. That will bring you to a Patreon site. That's right. The swim team is a Patreon site. It's also a Facebook page. It's a Facebook group. If you want support from your friends, come find us on Facebook and we'll be delighted to support you in your travels down the river and any kind of fields you want. So that's all for now. Thanks for tuning in. Till next time, keep swimming. Congrats! You've made it to the end of my conversation with Mimi Rabson. There's more in the pipeline, and I'm happy to report that River of Suck podcast with your host, Andy Reiner, is back, alive and well. I do want to address one bit of confusion. There are not one, but 2 Fiddle Hells that happen each year. In April, my family hosts Fiddle Hill Online on the internet. Every November, we host Fiddle Hill, Massachusetts in Westford, Mass. This year, it's coming up Thursday through Sunday, November 13th through 16th, 2025. Guess who will be back teaching? Mimi Rabson. Learn more at fiddlehill.org, and we will see you in hell. Fiddle Hill. Thanks again for listening. Please consider giving us a rating and a review wherever you listen to podcasts. Tell your friends, and please be sure to send me a message if you're somewhere on the road listening in a band van. Till next time, keep swimming.